Dun, da, da!
Hello! Welcome to Nobody Asked, the show nobody asked for, backed by popular demand. My name's Colin.
And I'm Maria. I'm
That's
his
my
mom.
mom. Wow, we're
Okay.
getting tight. We're getting tight on that start. Uh, all right. Today's episode is called "Are We Actively Watching the Destruction of the First Amendment as We Speed Run Authoritarianism?" Yes. End of episode.
Done. Finished.
We're
No,
finished. This is a
yeah.
good podcast.
Listen, I got to come up with titles. We have a discussion about what we want to talk about, and I got to kind of somehow summarize that in a title, and that's what I came up with.
This is
And I'll
hard.
tell you, yeah, I'll tell you, I've had, it's not really been a stressful week in the traditional sense, but I've had kind of uh, more of this like concerned feeling in my chest than I've had in a while. I haven't had it to be to this level in a while. And I think a lot of it for me is just coming to terms with. There was something that you said last week when we were talking about the Charlie Kirk shooting. And what you said was people on the left do not understand what a big deal Charlie Kirk is to them. And
Hmm.
what I have found over this week is that you were absolutely correct. I did not understand at all. You know,
Yeah.
because for me, I will see a little clip here and there of Charlie Kirk. I get the gist of what he was doing. And I'm just like, I can't dirty my soul or my brain with that kind of stuff. And so I push it away and it's not coming into my brain anymore. But that doesn't mean that other people are ingesting it the way that I am or avoiding it the way that I am. And so I think that I was not ready. I particularly wasn't ready for the idea that some people who are conservative or who were previously conservative viewed Charlie Kirk as a moderate. Um, I don't know when that became moderate, when just outright racism, misogyny, um, just all of that yucky stuff that he says became
Yeah.
a moderate viewpoint. That used to be the kind of stuff that people wouldn't say out loud.
Yeah, so I haven't. So yeah, you mentioned this on our call earlier, and I have not seen the narrative of him being a moderate in the way that you have. Like, where have you been seeing this? In what context? Like,
I've
is this
seen it a
JD
few.
Vance saying it, or
Well, I don't listen to JD Vance because he's another person who I won't let dirty my soul. No, I mean just various people that have been commentating that were conservative previously. They say that particularly like so Nick Fuentes is considered much further to the right than
definitely?
Charlie Kirk is, to the point where now Charlie Kirk is considered a moderate. But and I don't
Ah,
know if it has to do with perhaps his views on Israel, things like that, because that seems to be one of those ones that the right turns on pretty hard in the same way that the left does, right? If you aren't all in anti-Israel, then you're a centrist, right? You're a moderate instead of an extremist, which seems weird. It seems like if, but that seems to be one of the issues that people turn on. Nick Fuentes certainly does. He's very anti-Israel. He doesn't
he's
like Trump's.
anti-Israel.
He is. And he
Hmm.
doesn't like Trump's stances on Israel. Nick Fuentes has come out a lot. I guess Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes, obviously, they're both kind of podcasters. They're influencers, especially of young white men. They've got that same demographic, but
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes is much more extreme when it comes to that. And so they're always kind of vying for the same community, and they've got their factions. So the idea that the right is a united front is, of course, not true. But there's many offshoots and groups over there in the same way that there are on the left. There's nothing united about the left at all. But I wasn't prepared for the idea that anybody would consider Charlie Kirk a moderate. And so
Yep.
I think when that sank into me a little bit, and I realized how completely far apart the left and the right are, I mean, it just hit my chest in a different way, because I'm like, I don't think we're fighting for the same America. I don't think, like, I grew up on this idea of, the land of the free. And they don't want that. It seems like what they do want is for freedom for themselves, but everybody else go to jail. die, whatever. You know,
Yeah.
it's really weird,
I,
and we got to do something about it. We really do, because the idea that people are actively in pursuit of civil war is bothersome to me, and it's been bothersome to me for a while. I think that I'm living in where I'm preparing for two realities at all times. I'm preparing for the one where we come out of this and it's life as usual, and you focus on making sure you've got money in your 401k for your retirement, but you still get to go out and enjoy yourself. You're living life well. You're having a good time. Or this other one where everything collapses and you still got to figure out how to survive that. And those are, it feels so weird to be preparing for two things at once, and
mhm.
it 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 hurts me a little bit because I don't know why anybody would want that. And I'm going to go off on a tangent for a little bit longer than I mean to, but the idea of a angry white man has been around since the dawn of time. Boys hit a certain age, and there's just this rage that fills them, which I think you can relate to because you've been an angry white man before.
No, no, but I was
No,
angry about the right stuff.
right? Well, I mean, surely
I'm
everybody thinks
joking.
they are,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it is to me it is a part of becoming a man, that there is a part where you're really angry about it. And it used to be, there must be some usefulness to this, or I don't know why it would be happening to you guys. Somewhere in evolution, this must have been useful. And now in modern society, not so much, but there's still a need to get that rage out of you. And I like, how I used to say when you were a kid, I'd be like, oh, you just need to go fight some buffalo, right? Like, I'm like, you guys need to be out there hunting buffaloes. There's no buffaloes to hunt anymore. So now we have organized sports. You guys need to be running into each other, chasing a football,
Hmm.
things that seem completely pointless to me, but perhaps they have a bigger point. And I'm not, wasn't taking that seriously enough. And so I just really worry about there not being enough access to productive things for when men need to bump into each other. It's like if you can't compete at an elite level, there's no bumping into each other for you. So now you're in the depths of the internet, deep into Reddit, looking for something to be mad at. And
Yeah,
who do you find there?
you've got to be well. I mean, I think the point of sports is not just the doing sports, which has its own thing. It's the it's the watching sports where you can sort
Yeah.
of satisfy a need for an us versus them. And God, I hate the Phillies. And it's like, but if I lived in
I,
Philadelphia, I'd love the Phillies, of course,
I
right?
have no
So
understanding. I have even less understanding of that. Like that makes even less sense to me. So I've never
you just need
understood
it.
it. So
The Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's something evolutionary going on here where, like, having somebody that doesn't have, the empathy and just has you know, these are my people and I protect these people, and forces that are against my people are evil. And so I don't have moral quandaries about it. There's something that was probably helpful about that in, the
some sort of
year negative
tribalisms.
10,000 BC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but uh, to zoom back to okay, so I mean, one, yes, the desire for civil war is concerning, and I think I, I don't even know if people really desire civil war in the same way that they are thinking like things are getting so bad from whatever side you're at, and there is a point where this becomes civil war. And for some people, they thought the point might be when you kill my favorite boy, you know? Um, they massacred my boy. Um, and there is just a point, right? There is a the point for us is probably something more like a genocide, um or any number of other things, who knows.
Right, but I think we
But
don't have the desire to fight that physically, right? We want to attack you with words and logic and things like that. And let's do the thing. But the
yeah,
wanting the
i
death of
think
people.
I've been saying this for the entirety of the podcast, but I always think that people massively underestimate how bad things can get. And we're starting to see that where we're
I
like
agree.
early stages and we're like, this is real bad. And
I
people were
agree.
like, I mean, there were freaking leftists that were like, what's the difference between Trump and Kamala on Gaza? And you're like, wow, you have lost the fucking plot. But people don't realize how truly god awful life can become and how truly god great it has been, even if it's been shitty. And so, and then people also, I say on the left, people also don't realize how bad people can be. Like, people, that there's this desire, which I think is being lost, um, to be like empathetic and understanding on the like more progressive left, and to understand everything through a like a victim or colonial mentality, or a, the subjugator and the subjugated mentality, and to just understand everyone through a little bit of a myopic lens, and a complete denial of the fact that evil does exist. I think it's rare, um, and evil can also be brought out of people that are not inherently evil, and then I think there are people that are inherently evil.
Can I
um,
I just need to interrupt you for a second when you're talking about
sure.
evil being real, because I have a hard time with that as a concept sometimes. But then I watch things like, RFK Jr. being grilled in front of Congress, and it looks like the demon is struggling to leap out of his body when he's talking sometimes. Like, it looks like
Yeah,
there's a struggle there. You see his face just contorting, and you're like, there's a demon in there. There's a demon in there. Okay.
I think I'm like that. I think that I think there's a demon in me. I think that there's, you know, there, because there's just a point where somebody stops being a person and becomes an obstacle, and becomes inanimate to you. And that, so that's the reverse side of that coin, is that way, is that if you see too much evil, then that happens to you. But I think everyone doesn't see how bad things can get. A civil
Okay.
war is not what people think, especially in this era. It is
Yes.
not. It's not a headcanon for a Hollywood film. Okay, the power goes out. There's no more access to information. You are boarded up in your home. Did you buy guns? Sorry, you can't buy guns anymore. Like, how are you going to defend yourself? There are booby traps around. People are inherently distrustful of everyone. This is not good. And this is, and
Yeah.
the depths of depravity that will occur are difficult to understand through our Western first world, everything's been relatively hunky-dory brains. Civil war is not chill. It's
Not
going to
chill.
be, it if that happens, it is going to be real rough. Have you read about atrocities, about genocides and Rwanda and the rape of Nanking? The vibes get bad, in a way that is, it's not going to be good. So I don't think people actually want that. People do want revenge. And that's concerning, and it can certainly accelerate us towards the path that we're on. But I don't even know if I'm still on the original topic. I'm just like
No, no, you're just talking
frustrated with.
about how people just underestimate how terrible a civil war is, and I agree with you. And how bad all of this can get if it falls all the way apart. Um, I think we were talking earlier, like, how are we on the edge of authoritarianism, or have we fallen over the line?
Yep.
And can we come back from it, which I think is another important question, because there is a point of no return, and I don't think we're at the point of no return, but I think we are over the line of authoritarianism. um, you know some of the stuff that was set off by this Charlie Kirk thing, obviously, was we've got people losing their jobs for saying things that aren't even very bad. You know what I mean? Just giving opinions on what this has, done to the community, or even sometimes just how Trump has reacted to it. Given your opinion about how Trump
Yeah,
reacted to something.
the Jimmy Kimmel one is particularly disturbing. Now, late night shows were already in the crosshairs of Donald Trump. And just for a moment, I'd like to say that there is a silver lining to this, and it's that Donald Trump is old. And so, what is he doing? He is taking away the liberal speakers that speak to our soon to be dead people. I mean, who is watching TV? No one. This guy is worried about the late show. Look, it's not good, but I'm more concerned about, the internet and actual like media and journalism. These are late night comedians. They should be allowed to say whatever the hell they want. But uh, but I don't know. It's interesting. But he was taken off the air pretty rapidly after FCC pressure for just for saying that MAGA has quickly begun capitalizing on Charlie Kirk's murder. He used the word murder. He's towing the company line, right? He could have said assassination. I think maybe that would have been better, but he wasn't saying anything negative about Charlie Kirk in that
He did not.
part that they're calling out. He's not saying anything about it being justified. Like some of the more intense things that have been said, he was just saying that MAG is capitalizing on it. And then he was taken off the air after pressure from the Trump administration under the auspices of it being surrounding Charlie Kirk's death, thereby proving what he said initially. So that's a little bit of a weird vibe, but that is uh, that's concerning. And then there's the Washington Post journalist that got fired. There's all sorts of sports reporters that have been fired. Not that liberals will ever care.
I think even MSNBC, somebody got fired from there, and you're like, MSNBC, and
Yeah,
you're like, come on.
just another instance of Democrats not protecting their own, right? How
And
many
never
crazy
do.
things have they said on Fox News? How much did they make fun of Nancy Pelosi's husband, or tout misinformation and say cancelable shit, and they get kept on
Right.
the air? But suddenly
Absolutely.
CBS and MSNBC and all of these supposedly liberal institutions are buckling.
Now,
I mean, the
some of the
Washington
reason
Post.
some of the reasons that they're buckling does appear to be money related, just like it was with Paramount Plus deal, and taking Colbert off while they were trying to do some sort of a merger. The same sort of thing is happening with the companies that distribute. It's not ABC directly. It's more like the channels that actually the affiliate channels and the companies that own those. There's these giant companies. There's Sinclair. There's Nexstar or something that own a lot of these, and they're trying to get some rules changed with the FCC so that they can become an even bigger monopoly. Which right now they're like limited to have like a 39% share of the
Mhm.
market, and they're like, no, we want to own all of it so that we can control everything that you hear on the TV. So
Yeah.
there's always a money element, but it is so bothersome the way that, as you're saying, that the left does not protect its people. And the right they can do no wrong. We've had just this past week, on Fox News, they said something about homeless people, and that if they're not willing to move, they should be involuntarily euthanized. We're euthanizing homeless people now. And listen, if we're heading further and further towards civil war, you're going to have that many more homeless people. Are we supposed to be euthanizing everybody who can't survive economic
Sorry, what
collapse?
is this? What is this story about euthanization of homeless people?
Um, so I believe that it was around the stuff going on in DC, where Trump was moving the homeless people out, and it was kind of, against their will a little bit. It's like, you better move or else, and one of the, I can't remember what the name of the commentator was on Fox News, but they said, if they won't leave, then perhaps they should be involuntarily euthanized of the
Oh
homeless
wow!
people.
Somehow Brian
And
Kilmeade apologized for it.
he did. That's the end of it. That's good enough.
Well, I mean, okay, let's talk about consistency here, right? We're talking about people losing their jobs for being callous about the death of a political commentator. Is the best way I can steelman that, and uh, and the fact that them losing their jobs and not being protected is negative. Like, he apologized. This is what Fox News did. What we want the liberal media to do, right? Keep in
I
mind.
don't know. I did anybody even? Well, here's the thing: is apology wasn't really what they wanted from what the president of the United States. Which again, this is how we get into the First Amendment problem, because when the president, who is the executor of our Constitution and our laws, uh, the First Amendment is the government can't interfere with your speech, and the president says, "Listen, the only way that I'm not going to be exceedingly angry with Jimmy Kimmel is if I think he has to apologize to the wife of Charlie Kirk, which he didn't. Again, he didn't even say anything negative about Charlie Kirk, but also he has to give to their foundation. He has to give some. There was a specific amount of money quoted. I want to say it was $100,000, but I can't remember the exact number.
Sure.
To Turning Point, I believe, and you're like, what? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a backslide. I mean, it. I do think that this is a difficult place for. This is a difficult hill for us to die on. Are people losing their jobs for things that they say?
I agree.
Because the left has been doing that for 10 years,
And it's
and
not stopped.
really, and it's not stopped. And really, like, the only way we could adequately phrase a critique of it is around the government interfering with it, or uh, around the idea that, oh, I thought the right was all about free speech, right? As soon as we put it up against the left's own actions, it's like, okay, well, yeah, no, we were firing people for saying sometimes just silly stuff. There's a guy at Columbia um, that uh, came to one of the like science talks that was going on at the institute, and he asked a question, and then it was just all around the group chats, like, blah blah blah. This guy is here. He was asking me a question. Oh my god! And people were like, why wasn't he fired? And he was fired from like a chair position or something, but it was for tweeting a picture of a black model who is like referred to as like the queen of darkness or something. She just has incredibly dark skin,
Okay.
um, and he the tweet was weird. Okay, the tweet was strange, but he said something to the effect of like, whether a freak of nature or just a scientific anomaly, she is truly something breathtaking to behold. No one asked him to tweet that. It was weird, you know. It's a super strange tweet, um, but yeah, I mean, he did lose his position as chair and all that, and then all the group chats were just like, we're just like, I can't believe he wasn't fired, and you're like, that seems like an
Really?
old man that doesn't know how to behave. Now, most people think that this was a very welcome opportunity to remove him from his position, that most people didn't like to work with him. And given the question
Oh.
that he asked at the talk, I wouldn't be surprised by that. But that doesn't really, change anything here. This is still
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
weird free speech thing that somebody just gets fired over. About 12 hours after, Kimmel's lawyers filed a lawsuit against Sinclair and ABC for violating a contract in Jimmy Kimmel's free speech.
Listen,
Good.
this is what I'm here for. Unfortunately, I think for me, I keep waiting for a leader to emerge on the left to get us out of this situation, because the ones that we have elected are just, listen, I realize their hands are tied, but I wish that they would be doing something more. Get themselves arrested on the daily is what I would like, but maybe that's not realistic. So then I'm left with lawsuits. All I can hope for is that every lawyer out there is ready to fight. And it seems such a weird thing to ask lawyers to do, but that's where I feel like we're at. It's like I'm waiting for a leader. I'm waiting for something, because I don't want an actual civil war. I just would like some level of normalcy. And, you know, I actually think a lot of the right would like the same thing, because I remember me and your dad were on a walk, and this was like right after Trump got elected, and we kind of ran into a neighbor and we started talking to them. And I'm like, I just hope he just, if the first one, if it's more like his first um, presidency, will be fine. But if all this Project 2025 stuff happens, not so much, And the husband said something along the lines of, now we can all finally come together, and I can't remember the exact wording, but the idea that, but I believe he said that we can all come together and unite again as a country. And I'm like, when has Trump said anything that's unifying at all? He doesn't say unifying things, but to them, they're hearing something different than we're hearing, which I think is also
Yeah.
true of the Charlie Kirk stuff. I think they're hearing different stuff because we're all getting information in tiny, TikTok clips, right? So, Charlie Kirk can be having these really actual good conversations at some of these events, where he's talking to people with different opinions of him, but he's only going to clip the 19 seconds that are meme worthy, that say what he wants to say. He might have been completely owned by that person, but we're not going to clip all of that. We're just going to take the little
Yeah,
meme
of course,
part out of it.
that's not gonna come out. And that's that there is something bad faith about the format of Charlie Kirk and some of the other people that do similar work, is the concept of debate as performance. The left version of this is like Jordan Klepperson fingers the pulse, the Daily Show snippet, where it's masquerading as a conversation with people that you disagree with, but it's not about understanding or finding truth or anything that a debate should be about. It's about winning an interaction.
Yes.
And the market for these is essentially get as many of those people as you can, and then find the ones that you win the hardest, and people that like you will really enjoy the winning of all of it. Jordan Klepperson just goes to these Trump rallies and finds the dumbest people at the Trump rally, and then gets them to say something hypocritical or absurd while pretending to be on their side. And humor is derived from that, and liberals enjoy watching it and laughing at the dumb MAGA people. Uh, on the same side, flip side of that coin is Charlie Kirk and other similar commentators having conversations in which the whole thing is owning the libs, right? And this is like, if you've heard "Own the Libs," this is Charlie Kirk. This is like, this is that. When I say people don't get how big he is, he's bigger than any left-leaning podcast. There is
Yeah,
there's
probably.
nothing similar to him on our side. I think the most similar death, and even then, I don't think it would be as impactful, because I think it would probably affect the 25 to 50 age range before it would
Okay.
affect the 15 to 30, is Jon Stewart being assassinated. I think that is the most similar, and Jon Stewart does not touch how big Charlie Kirk is,
Yep.
because the liberals have all the traditional media, and we have all the market for this sort of alternate media was not there in the same way for Democrats, and it did not grow at the same pace that
Exactly.
other ones that as other ones do. So now we're playing catch up in alternate media, and still it's like there are podcasts with leftists and liberals on them, but I don't know. There's just something depressing about watching them. There's something just pre-defeated, and not. Charlie Kirk was getting big after Trump lost, just by being a bit. Well, he was big before that, but he was getting bigger after Trump lost, and he never really seemed to have the defeated mindset. I think that the Democrat ones they're just too tied to reality. I do there's a guy that you send me occasionally where I'm like, all right, this guy has lost the plot just enough to whip me up into a fury. Like he's like so biased and so unapologetic for his own
Oh,
nonsense and
probably Hawk.
misgivings. What?
It's probably Hawk.
Hawk?
Yeah, his name is Hawk. Is he like he's in his 50s with a mullet, but he's like a lawyer from San Francisco, and he just does not care. He no. Who do I send you?
No, he's got a radio. He's got a radio show. People
Oh,
call
Tom
into
Hartman.
it. Tom Hartman. Yeah, yeah. That dude
That guy's like,
is.
or do you
Yeah,
mean
dude,
Dave
he's
Patman?
unlistenable. He's got a Q&A show. You've sent me clips of him.
Oh yes,
I think it's Hartman. Yeah, it's the Hartman
okay,
Report. Yeah,
yeah.
that and he's like downright unlistenable to me. I mean, he is so
Oh,
like
I don't think so.
unnuanced and like,
I don't think so.
but it works. It's
It
just
does work.
that's the closest thing we have, and it does not. His podcast is so bad. It's so
Well, it's actually a
poorly
serious.
produced.
It's a serious like XM radio show, so it's it's an actual radio show.
Yeah, he needs to clip it for podcasts because it's just very difficult to consume on Spotify. But that anyway, I don't even remember what my point was. Charlie Kirk is really big. This is going to be really bad.
Yeah, it's just we don't have that same media on the left. That's not just traditional media. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. It's difficult to think around all of this, and I think that you're going to see more leftist violence because it does seem like the prevailing thought is that protest and nonviolence is ineffective and
You think so?
and performative. I mean, I can only talk about my echo chamber, right? But yeah, I think that people think that if there's protest, it has to have an edge of violence to it, and like we've exhausted all of our nonviolent options. Nothing ever changes. Everything's only getting worse, and so there's nothing to do now, and we're all powerless. But we can all take a little tiny bit of power if we just kill one person and then fuck up everything. It's like
Listen,
you're
I am
not.
not. I'm not there with you. There are moments where I think that way, but I'm like, there's no right person to kill, so I can't do it. And
No,
for
I'm
me,
not that. Wait. I'm saying what the left is saying. I'm not saying that
I hear
nonviolence
the
is
left.
pointless.
I don't. To me, I don't hear the left saying that. To me, I hear the left saying almost the opposite. Still, where they're like, "Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait." They want us to get violent so that we can have real martial law, not just National Guardsmen standing in front of federal buildings. So that we can have. They want us to hurt the National Guardsmen. The National Guardsmen, to me, are the biggest pawns on the planet. They're being
Yeah, they're
used.
doing nothing.
They're
Yeah.
doing nothing, but the hope is that something will happen to them so that they can have a war inside the country. That's what I hate. The idea that you're putting these people that have no choice about where they are right now, and they are. Listen, the military is definitely not 100% Republican. It's maybe like 60%. You know what I mean? And National Guardsmen, obviously they come from each state, so it's going to be a little bit more skewed to whatever your state's demographics are. But most of them are not here for this. They don't want this. They are pawns. They are sitting ducks. Yes, they are there to project some sort of authority and violence, but they are projecting that because they want the reaction, and not the National Guardsmen, but the people that are sending them into that position. They are literal pawns in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it's important to not be violent. It's extra important to stay. It's like the Black community has always been kind of on top of this stuff before the white community is, and it's just like, don't engage with this. Do not. We're not doing it. We're just going to stand back. It's your turn now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just
want to clarify that what I was saying is not what I think. Okay, I think that we need to do now. We need to do nonviolent organizing. I'm just saying that there is a sense of malaise in certain subsets, especially of young leftists, that there's no point to protests. That we did all the big protests for George Floyd, and we've done the big protests before that, and we did the No Kings March, and it just looked like it was huge, and yet it looked like a joke. And what did that do? did nothing. There's just a sense of what is the point of all of this, and then people feel powerless, and people feel
They do.
enraged, and
All
they
true.
go, you know what? What's with all these people that are enraged and do school shootings? I'm going to shoot someone that's worth it, you know. And
Right.
it all just feeds into this pipeline. But
Well,
right
I don't
now there is no positive that comes out of this in
exactly.
killing a that it's too ingrained. It's too it's the infection has grown too wide of this like nationalist, isolationist, authoritarian thing where there is no head of the snake anymore. Certainly, the biggest head is Donald Trump, but there's no shot on earth that him dying is going to end this. It would if you could go back to 2014, you know, it wouldn't have even seemed political, and you know maybe you could have maybe then things could have turned out differently. If you could go back to 2012 and get Mitt Romney elected, I bet things would be different as well. Uh,
True.
but
I will
you
say
know,
I don't think of you as a leftist to begin with. So I didn't want to say that. I'm just saying I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing the opposite. But then again, I view myself as a
yeah, I don't
liberal
know
and
what
not a leftist.
spheres you're in. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what spheres because we're just in different spheres. But it's
We're
I
different
I
generations, so
am different generations. I'm in the like ultra academic, ultra activist, you know, way over concerned about Israel Gaza, like way anti-America young left. And these are the spheres that you know are around me, whether or not I do anything. But this is you know it's just complicated. But I do wonder like so here's the two things I wonder. I wonder what an effective nonviolent strategy looks like right
yes.
now. What are the boycotts? What is the type of because the problem is that the institutions are not resisting. The institutions which we thought were on our
Yes.
side are not doing a good enough job of resisting. They are
Yes.
effectively muzzling the law firms. They are effectively muzzling the judges. They're effectively muzzling major media companies. They're effectively muzzling colleges. These are all of the paragons of liberalism and democracy. And they've flipped in like 9 months. And so
Yeah.
what does it look like? What does a boycott look like? What does a work strike look like? What does a
These are excellent
real
questions.
effective nonviolent and how do you organize it when so many people on the left are disillusioned and are like people it's like they understand the stakes but they're like I do still have to go to work tomorrow, you know, I can't afford a house.
Yeah.
And you're like I'm
Isn't
like
that the interesting
I'm
thing?
with you, dude. People had to go to work in 1942 in Germany, right? They still had bakeries. It was
But
like
you
it
don't think
was
about it though, right? You think, you know, either
think
they
about
were
it.
forced into a factory or they were, you know, working their tiny farms just trying to keep themselves alive, you know? That's what you think about. Not that they were
That's what
literally cobbling
yes, a
shoes and
caricature.
yeah.
Yeah, no, they had a boss like during it, you know,
Yeah.
and there were points where it became oh god, end of days, we're getting firebombed. I live in Dresden, but there were also just points where it was like these are what the days are like. I guess you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you can
Yeah.
join, gonna go get some sausage. So
So but earlier, you know, when we were talking before the show started, you were asking Chat GPT some questions to see what kind of answers it would give you.
yes,
Let's see.
so so sometimes I like to talk to ChatGPT, and you really have to hammer it and say like, "This is how I want you to respond to me," or else it'll just be like, "You're such a smart boy. You're so intelligent. You're gonna break the world," and you're like, "Shut up." Um, so so I was talking to it in like I really enjoyed my religious philosophy class in college, and I enjoyed the concept of philosophic proofs that are like they're formatted like math proofs. Um, and so we were talking through ideas around Charlie Kirk's killing in that, and where is the tipping point between like violence is way too early and is just counterproductive versus violence is the Revolutionary War. Ooh, we're getting freedom from the British, that's good that we're doing that. So where's this different part? And it had a few precepts, and then eventually we made like a flow chart for when is the moment of last resort.
And by we
you
mean you and Chat GPT, right?
Yeah, me and ChatGPT. I haven't named it yet, but and I think one of the interesting things that it pulled was a set of 6 things to watch for as concrete warning signs of democratic breakdown. And these are pulled from the American Academy in Berlin. They have some experience with that, and VDEM and Freedom House are like the big ones that look at this around the world. So I'm just going to read the 6 out there, and just let everyone just have a little bit of a
think.
Have a little bit of a think on each of these points, because these are the 6 where it says if a couple of these are happening, that's a real the urgency is increasing on us doing something. You need to do something quickly. So if just a couple of these are starting to happen. Okay. Number 1, leaders reject the basic rules of the game, deny the legitimacy of elections or of the opposition. Number 2, erosion of norms and checks, sidelining independent courts, packing courts, politicizing oversight institutions. Check. Number 3, constraining of free expression and civil society, attacks on independent media, NGOs, academic freedom. I don't know if you guys watched the JD Vance podcast recently, but he's explicitly talking about going after NGOs, and we've been talking about them going after academic freedom for a while.
What's Number NGO 4, stand for?
Non-government organizations.
Okay. Check.
So like nonprofits. Delegitimizing opponents, labeling opponents as enemies or traitors such that peaceful opposition becomes suspect. Number 5, toleration or encouragement of political violence and paramilitary or extra-legal groups used to intimidate opponents. Number 6, manipulation of electoral rules or the mechanics of voting to guarantee outcomes.
We're right. We're trying. They're trying that one. They're trying.
They're not all check marks. They're not all like they're talking about them.
There's a few that are like, circle, not quite a check yet. Circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so difficult because again, there's no leader to lead and to point the direction, and there is no right person. It's not like there's a single. It's not like if you get rid of Donald Trump through that type of violence, that something else terrible doesn't happen. So who do you go after? To me, it would not have been Charlie Kirk, but I personally don't think that's what killing was about. Personally, I hope at some point he does talk. He's been told, the person who shot him does talk and say what his motives were. They do seem kind of convoluted and confusing. I think to say that it's for sure one way or the other would be silly. I think, nobody wants to believe it's on their side. I think that his ideology is confusing. So I think we're going to have to wait that one out. It's be real time. Sorry, we got to be real. I don't know what we were talking about. Ideologies. Yeah, there's no leader to me, so I never know who or when or what we should be collectively doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not about to do it myself. And I think most people are not about to do it themselves. We're not just going to go and individually, let's all just choose somebody from a deck of cards. Okay, so did you hear this about Charlie Kirk? That he has had this website, he's had it for a long time, where he basically lists like college professors. Yeah. People like that who are, they're doing gender studies or whatever it is that they're doing that is just too liberal for him. And it's a hit list,
the professor
basically.
Watch list. It's a watch list.
It's a watch list, right? But watching
you can't just call it a hit list. Basically, it's not.
No, but if you've got addresses and names and stuff like that, and then because their name is now on there, they're now receiving death threats. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can. You can soften it by calling it a watch list, but and I don't want a list like that for us to have for the other side. I just don't think that that's the way it's going to go. And unfortunately, I I don't want to fight my neighbors. And I realize I'm in Mississippi, so I might mean that more. But I think every single neighborhood, it's the same thing. You don't. Some of your neighbors, you can tell what side they're on. Some of them, you have no idea. Um, some of them are hoarders. About 1 in 20 people are hoarders. So look how many houses are in your neighborhood. Which house do you think is the hoarder? You might be surprised which one it is. But
Oh,
that's a side tangent for me, and the fact that that's how I look at things. Ooh, 1 in 20 houses is a hoarder. Which one? Which one?
120 men are a rapist.
What? Oh, that's an uncomfortable number.
It's too many. I have got to go.
Yep, you do. Yeah, you do. So, as Colin leaves, I just wanted to share, because this is all stressing me out. I've had to stop watching. Colin's going to go. I'm going to keep going for a minute. I've had to listen to music instead of watching political commentary and stuff a lot more today or this week. And so this is some footage of me listening to music while I do my woodworking, while I carry my wood here and there. You'll be able to figure out what song I'm listening to on this one. Let's see. Do 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 do.
You the hottest bitch in this place. Hey, hey, hey.
And this is what I do when I can no longer handle the barrage of politics coming at me all day long. I'm dancing. I'm dancing.
You the hottest bitch in this place.
Oh, that was just a different camera angle. Oh, I think there's one more. Oh, I was really going for it. Literally, who knows what I was listening to on that one. So, listen, times are hard. There's moments to be serious, and then there's times when you got to take a break. So, I encourage you all to dance while you can. Take those moments, man. Take those moments. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for keeping us company. And hopefully, we'll see you next week. Bye.